2020 was a year and continues to be because I think this is going up on the 10th, so we've got a solid 21 days to go. So today I just thought we'd keep it relatively lighthearted and we're going to talk about movies, music, TV shows, books, of course, because despite everything horrible that has happened, I think that there's some good to be found in most things. I think that's true of most things. I've got a list. The first favorite on my list is a book, and that book is Anne of Green Gables. Anne of Green Gables was a childhood favorite of mine that I reread this year because I picked up a copy at our local Second and Charles secondhand bookstore, and I'm so glad I did. It's the story of Anne, a young girl who lives in Canada, and all of the adventures she gets up to. She has red hair, lots of freckles, and her name is spelled with an E. Not only does this book feature characters I love and relate to so much, but the descriptions of nature are just really calming and beautiful, and I think it's a book, honestly, that's perfect for any time of year, and I'd recommend it. Next, we've got Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. This is not my favorite Celeste Ng book, but I did pick it over the other one. Let me explain why. So Celeste Ng has thus far written 2 novels, Everything I Never Told You and Little Fires Everywhere, which is now known for its, is it Hulu? I think it's Hulu because that's the one I don't have and it makes me sad, adaptation. While I do think that Everything I Never Told You is considerably better written, Little Fires Everywhere is much more of a creative risk, and I think that Ng executed it really well. So in this town, this small town that I want to say is in Ohio, there's a family, a white family, and a bunch of white families. They're just surrounded by white families. And one day, Mia and Pearl, whose races I don't believe are specified in the book, but who are African American and Black in the show, they arrive in the town. And it's really about social and economic relationships and microaggressions, but it's also a bit of a mystery. It starts off with the ending, which is one of my favorite tropes. We love full circle stories. Celeste Ng has a stunning writing style. Her commentary is exquisite and really nuanced, and I definitely recommend you read this book. And I'm really jealous if you've seen the show because I can't. Next, we've got Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. I think this is a pretty well-known book, and you probably don't need me to explain, but I will a little. There's a park. It's like Disney World, but for dinosaurs instead of mice in trousers. And things start to go wrong. It's just such a fun story. I did watch the movie when I was much younger and far before I ever picked up or knew there was a book. And the book's better, almost. There's more adventure in it. There's more suspense. The science is delved into even further, which I really appreciate. I found it really entertaining. And yeah, you'll love it. I mean, come on, it's Jurassic Park. Coming up next on our list, we have The Joylet Club by Amy Tan. This is one of the books my English teacher from sophomore year let me loan over the summer, and it was fantastic. It's a story about generational trauma and divide and joy and miscommunication. It's really a tale about mothers and daughters, specifically Chinese mothers who grew up and were raised in China, and their daughters who were born in the United States. It's also a story of connecting with family and understanding one's culture and roots, and it was really personal to me because, little spoiler here, towards the end, one of our main characters finds some of her siblings in China that she didn't know she had. And if you're new here, you probably won't know my little sister's adopted from China, and that's one of her dreams, is to find her biological family, and it's something we're all trying to rally behind her and aid her in doing because it's her heritage and also a part of who she is. Despite the fact that this story is incredibly personal to me, I think it's really something that any reader would enjoy and any reader should pick up because even if you don't connect personally to the story, Amy Tan's writing style is magnificent. She's really amazing at creating visuals in words, which is, in my opinion, one of the highest accomplishments a writer can achieve. She also used to be in a band with Stephen King, so I mean, come on. This is the last book that I have finished this year, but we have one more after that. That is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. The House in the Cerulean Sea is more, I would say it's more YA geared, but I think, again, any reader could pick it up. And it's about a man named Linus who is a social worker for magical children. So he travels around this fictional world to adoption agencies and foster homes and places like that where magical children live and inspects them, makes sure everything is safe, they're happy, things like that. And Linus himself is a pretty lonely guy. He pretty much lives and breathes his job, doesn't really have a life outside of it, but one day he goes to this house in the Cerulean Sea, if you hadn't guessed, and there he meets magical children that he connects with on a deeper level, and he has a little bit of a love story with one of the people that works there, and it's a story really about chosen family and love and friendship and joy and accepting your differences and realizing that differences can make you so special, but that at the end of the day, it's also about human connection and our unique capacity for empathy and love and just the things we really do all have in common. I loved this book. It made me really happy. So if you're looking for a happy book, that's the one for you. Last but not least for books, and this is one I'm currently reading, so I'm not done yet, but I know it's going to be a favorite, The Mothers by Britt Bennett. As I said, I haven't finished. I'm about, I would say, half to 2/3 of the way through. It's amazing. Britt Bennett is really well known for writing The Vanishing Half, which is her book this year that I believe won the Goodreads Choice Award for Historical Fiction. It's about relationships between women and relationships between men and women and sort of gender norms and what we expect from people and how people disappoint us and how that disappointment can morph into a lifelong story. It's about human connection. It's about loss. It's just about so much. And again, because I haven't finished it, I don't know how it'll end. And because of that, I feel I'm not adequately equipped to really dive into the themes, but it is potentially my favorite book I've read all year long. And I cannot wait to finish it. Time for songs! Number 1, Exile by Taylor Swift featuring Bon Iver from her new album, Folklore.
Bon Iver wannabe?
First of all, Bon Iver is my favorite band, and Justin Vernon, well, maybe Rush. Rush comes really close, but anyway, Justin Vernon, who is the primary lead singer guy in Bon Iver, is one of my favorite musicians. I think he has such a unique voice, and I particularly love the lyrics the band writes. I find them very compelling and intriguing and thoughtful. This song I loved not only because it was a collaboration between Bon Iver and Taylor Swift, who I also really love, but because it had so much imagery that I connected to a lot. For example, it referred quite often to movie theaters and side doors and things like that, and that's my life, so that was something that I could definitely connect to, and I love the idea of comparing a relationship and choosing whether to stay or not to stay to a movie, to a relationship that you're watching unfold on screen. I think it's a song a lot about retrospect, at least that's my interpretation, and I love it. Coming in at number 2, we have Boston. I keep kicking the stand for the camera, the tripod. Number 2. Boston by Dermot Kennedy, who I believe is Irish, and I only learned about their music this year because thank goodness Spotify recommended it to me. Boston is a song I listen to a lot. I find it very catchy and very interesting and unique, and there's just one lyric I really like, which is "Take me back to places I feel loved in," and I think that's just a really lovely sentiment, but also kind of sad, melancholy, bittersweet, if you will. Number 3, Maine by Noah Kahan. Noah Kahan is another artist I really love, and I just think this song is beautiful. I like the imagery of Maine. I like the sound effects that are used. There's like some seagulls in the distance, and it's just a stunning song. It makes me think of road trips in the most happy, sad way. I guess that's how I describe my music taste, happy, sad. 4, Halloween by Novo Amor, which I don't actually think has a deeper meaning. I believe I read that it's about a really horrible Halloween that the artist actually did experience, but I love that song. I did hear it for the first time on Halloween 2020, which is kind of fun, and that was just a really special day for me. That was the first time I'd seen anyone outside of my family in, January, February, March, and April, May, June, July, August, September, October, in 8 months. And it was just a tiny little gathering outside with my friends Austin and Jenna, and we just had a really nice evening, socially distanced and all. So that song, I think, has a lot of meaning to me because I connect it to that day, which was important to me. Finally, I Need a Forest Fire by James Blake featuring Bon Iver. I really like Bon Iver. I Need a Forest Fire is, I love the ambiance of it. It's very atmospheric. We do not need more forest fires though. Save the planet, climate change is real. Why are we still talking about this? Time to talk about movies and TV shows, and coming in at number 1 we have Even the Rain, which I watched for Spanish class actually. I'm going to be doing a video pretty soon about my language learning experience because someone asked me to, and because I think it's a really interesting topic, but this is why I stick with Spanish. Not only do I just simply love language learning and find languages to be compelling in structure and meaning, but they're alive. That's something my teacher told us, is languages breathe. They're a culture, they are a people. And I think that is no more evident than when applying a language, in my case Spanish, to art. And my favorite art form is film, so this movie was just really everything. I believe it was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Foreign Film a while ago, but essentially Even the Rain is a movie about a movie, in which a fictional director and his producer and his crew and cast go out to Bolivia to film a film about Christopher Columbus landing in the Caribbean. Why do they go to Bolivia instead of the Caribbean? Well, because it's cheaper, they can pay extras dirt cheap, and they're convinced that all indigenous peoples are the same. However, during the process of shooting this fictional movie, the Bolivian water crisis in Cochabamba is going on, where essentially the water industry was privatized by companies in like California and I think Europe as well. And indigenous peoples could not afford the raise in water prices, so essentially they were being denied a human right. So while making a film in the wrong location about a horrible injustice to one group of indigenous peoples, another injustice was being done in Bolivia, and this actually happened in 2000 to another group of indigenous peoples. I think it shows us how we haven't changed in terms of just a global citizenship, how specifically white people continue to abuse and mistreat indigenous peoples and people of color and just people of minorities in general. It was a really powerful film to me. It made me cry. It also made me laugh. There were parts that were really, really funny as well. It was a very human film, and I would absolutely recommend it. Don't worry, if you don't speak Spanish, subtitles are embedded in the movie, and it is on Netflix. Next, we've got just kind of a constant favorite movie of mine that I'm gonna group with another one, because these are just two that are always on my list. One is The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind by Charlie Kaufman, and the other is The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. Perks, we'll talk about first, is very important to me. I will be completely honest, I watched it way too young when I was maybe 8. I watched a pirated version on the internet. I didn't know that it was pirated. I didn't even know what pirated meant. I feel very guilty about it now, but I feel like I'm gradually making reparations by watching it over and over on Netflix. Perks of Being a Wallflower is adapted from a book by Stephen Chbosky, who actually also directed and maybe wrote the film. He went to USC SCA, which is the school I want to go to. It follows our main character Charlie, who's dealing with some pretty severe depression and mental illness and loss and just general grief. I think there's also a topic in there of just losing your innocence in high school and how awful that is. But it's about how Charlie meets this group of seniors, and they're just so outgoing, and they all have their own individual hardships and pains and traumas, but it's about how these people connect and how they make each other better and make each other happier. And it's a story about friendship at the end of the day. I think it's the most realistic portrayal of high school I've ever read. Minus Homecoming. No one actually dances at Homecoming. Don't let them fool you. But I adore it. It's I think will always be one of my very favorite films. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which is also, in my opinion, really heavily about human connection, but in a romantic sense. It's about Joel and Clementine, two people in a relationship that's kind of doomed from the start. They're not right for each other, but it's a sci-fi film, and I don't want to spoil it too much, but I will say that it's essentially these two characters finding each other and finding each other over and over and over again and just trying to make it work. It's about remembering certain parts of relationships and what we choose to forget. It's about the importance of memories, even those that are painful, and shaping who we are and what we believe. It's exquisite. I think the cinematography is amazing. It's really surreal and hilarious in some ways. Clementine's hair has a lot of symbolism. I really like it. Next, we've got a TV show, which is The Crown. I have not seen season 4. I know it's tragic, but I'm currently getting caught up on season 3, and it's really great so far. Olivia Colman is one of my favorite actresses. That was solidified by her Oscars acceptance speech. That was the funniest thing.
Oh, it's genuinely quite stressful. This is hilarious.
I think that The Crown is a really good study for kids or people in general who like film because the cinematography itself tells a whole story, and the way characters are framed and the shots, and there's just so much precision and detail put into this show. If you remember that it is heavily fictionalized and remember that it is a product of the entertainment industry, I love it. I love the costumes. I love the acting. I think they do a really good job of dramatizing history, even the less good parts of it. They do ignore quite a bit of history, which is important to point out. We can love stuff and acknowledge its flaws at the same time. This one I just finished, and don't worry, I'm gonna have a video on it super soon. I'm just currently reading the book, so we can talk about that. Dash and Lily's Book of Dares, which I adored. May I just say, I watched it in 2 days. I didn't expect to like it. I don't usually like Netflix's Christmas stuff. But this one was really fun. The acting wasn't awesome, but it was really well done. I think it was well shot. I think that the premise is really fun, and I know that originates, of course, in the book that I'm currently reading. It was just a really good holiday show. And then I haven't watched this yet, but what I want to end on is The Queen's Gambit. I'm also waiting for that book to come in on Libby. I have it on hold. Should be here in a week or 2, but I'm gonna watch it, and I know I'm gonna love it because I've already watched like 10 critiques of it and breakdowns of it, even though I've yet to see the actual show. It's a bad habit, but I know I'm gonna love it. The costumes are fun. I love chess. It's about psychological conflict. It's just awesome. I already know. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I would love to hear what your favorite films, songs, TV shows, books were, authors were this year. Maybe something that you learned from those, why they're important to you. Yeah, that's all I've got for today, but I will see you all again on Sunday with a video that's gonna be fun because finals are still coming up, and they're stressful. Until then, stay well.